Although
see. Is it recording? Sorry, Joe, it didn't.
I didn't get a notice if it is. There it is.
There
Yeah,
it is.
recording my
Yeah.
end.
Cheers. Thanks. Okay, I always like to do an introduction, although we already talked for a couple of minutes. But there's a new saying in the Netherlands, and it says, "As long as you can explain it to your children, it's good." So I explained to my children that I will be talking to the Johan Cruyff of the experience industry and economy, and it's always a very big pleasure. Joe Pine, thank you again for your spare time.
Thank you, sure. Yeah, I got that. I got that advice days ago on my first book. Is that several people tell me make it so that your mother can read it, right?
Yeah,
And I
that's it.
tried very hard, and my mother read it. She was very proud of me. So yes, I appreciate that.
Cool. That's very cool to hear. But we're in a period of time that for the people that didn't read the Experience Economy, shame on you. Read it again because it's the proof of like 20 years of development, and it's still spot on, Joe. That period of time
Yes.
was described so well by you and your colleague, Mr. Gilmore. But now pooh, we are in a world where everybody at every brand and every company starts talking about the customer experience. I think they then talk about, as you once said, very good services, but you approach it differently. Can you take us along in what you see that is proper customer experience?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the customer experience movement really came out of this shift into the experience economy, both what we wrote and others, and what was going on. I mean, we weren't futurists that would tell you what's going to happen in 2022. Back in the late 1990s, we're saying this is happening now, but now everybody can see it. And so the CX movement, customer experience, though, has really devolved into where what most people mean by the term is let's make our interactions with our customers nice and easy and convenient. And those are all well and good, but they're service characteristics, they're not experience characteristics. We're very clear in saying experiences are a distinct economic offering, as distinct from services as services are from goods. So when you make them nice, easy, convenient, I mean, nice is nice, but rarely does it rise to the level of memorability. Right? If you did not create a memory, then you didn't create a stage, a true distinctive experience. And when we make things easy for our customers, what that often means is we routinize them for our employees to make it easy to deliver service to our customers. And that means they have to standardize things, and it gets in the way of being personal. And experiences are inherently personal. In fact, experiences happen inside of us. It's a reaction to the events that are staged in front of us. So you have to reach inside of people, engage them in that inherently personal way, and thereby create that memory as the hallmark of the experience. And then finally, convenience is the antithesis of what I'm talking about. Because convenience is spending as little time as possible with the customers. It's getting in and out as quickly as possible. When with experiences, what people value is the time, right? That's what they're buying from you, the time they spend with you. And the way to think about it is that services are time well saved. It's why you often get the watchword today for CX is often frictionless, right? Yeah, let's make it frictionless. Let's provide time well saved. That's absolutely beautiful, right? Because what do people do? They'll take that time you saved them and they'll go spend it on experiences, right? Experiences are time well spent, right? That they value the time that they spend with you. So it's very important. I mean, again, CX is a good thing. All that is good if what you're doing is delivering services. But
Yeah.
if you view yourself as in the experience business, and you probably should, then you need to think more about time well spent.
Especially because we are now reaching the upper level of everything we probably can do with any communication or marketing tool, and that is taking people to the next level in creating change, behavioral change. And I saw one of your quotes, or it was maybe a statement that came out of one of your articles, and you said, well, the transformation economy is more or less going from enjoyment to personal transformation. Um, what for me is pretty difficult to understand, um, a brand experience or a well thought of experience strategy from outside any company, how then can you fit with that personal desire, or maybe even not knowing that you have that desire, but to change that behavior on such a personal level?
Yeah, well, look at it this way: we as individuals only ever change through the experiences that we have. That's the only way we ever change, right? We are all the product of our experiences. And so if you can create one life transforming experiences, which is possible, but more likely a series of experiences that lead people down a path that help them create that personal transformation. And one of the keys, particularly for brands to think about, is you've got to approach it from the customer's perspective. That is, if I'm the customer, what are my aspirations? You don't want to approach it from this fact, I want to turn this customer into a loyal enthusiast, into a raving fan, into a super consumer, right? No, that's what you want. That's not what the customer wants. They may become that if you give them what they want. Right? So you got to focus on the customer and their aspirations and try and help them along the outcomes. We all have aspirations, whether it's become more fit, whether it's be more healthy, have higher well-being, have a better relationship with our spouse or with our kids, make a difference in our business, in the environment, whatever it might be. And it's how do you help people, give them the opportunities to be able to glide down that path. I mean, even if you're not the one that's really the one that guides the transformation, right? So like you deliver services, you stage experiences, you guide transformations, then you should be part of an overall solution. You can be an element in there and do your part, play your role in that ongoing transformation.
And do consumers now find their brands based on the purpose fit because of trying to reach that change, or do you as a brand or a company have to use more or less C2B strategies coming out of that consumer and then create your vision and it's for me it's a little bit difficult to really grab it. What is that what a brand has to do then?
Right. So by purpose fit, you mean an alignment of the purpose of the company with the individual. Yeah. Right.
Are we now looking for that
right.
brand that really stands for something that I can see? Okay, that's that we've got that fit, and that's my brand. Is that the way it goes now?
Yeah, that is often the case, right? It's not solely, but it's often the case, and it relates directly to to the follow-on of the experience economy you wrote on authenticity, where we said authenticity is the new consumer sensibility, right? That matches the experience economy, and that we buy offerings, not just experiences, but commodities, goods, services, and experiences based on whether we view them as authentic, we perceive them as authentic, which is where this, like, you get this sympathetic vibration that goes back and forth. So yeah, that's who I am. That's what I'm about. And you can think of, we identified 5 genres of authenticity, of which one was influential authenticity, which relates to purpose. But I think also, I'm not totally positive on this, but I think also is that purpose, and I'll generally use the word meaning, and that purpose infuses meaning, and the meaning is what you're really after, is really the corresponding sensibility, consumer sensibility for the transformation economy. That we do look for companies where they help me achieve my purpose in life, that they help me give my life meaning, that they align with my values and what they're doing and so forth. So that often will be a reason why people will choose brands. And what that means is you very much get into what we called in the chapter 10 of the book, worldview segmentation, that not everybody has the same alignment. And if you choose that to align in this way, you're going to cut out, often in the US now, it's half the country, right? Because there was a little polarized at the moment.
Yeah, same here.
But you often cut out half the country that say, okay, they don't align. And then they may still buy from you again, because it's not the end all be all, because there may be things that you do and offerings that you have that they can't get elsewhere. But you're not going to have that same level of alignment, of love, of fandom, unless there is at least, it's not an exact. It doesn't have to be but they have to be aligned. It has to be heading in the right direction.
Is there then also maybe one of the last out of last 2 questions? This is my 4 last question. I think where you describe that polarization, I think that's a global thing at this moment. In every country, you have discussions. It starts off straight away, totally on the left, totally on the right, and it's so difficult to bring it back to the middle. By saying that, do the consumers? I think that more or less we changed through a period of time. That's evolution maybe, or whatever it is. But we changed by having our own social media channels. We are now the authority ourselves. Does it change this theory from the transformation economy coming out of the experience economy, or is that still as strong as it was as a vision, as a
the transformation economy does come out of the experience economy. All these economies flow from each other. There's both on supply and demand side. On the supply side, companies are always looking for differentiation, and if they lack differentiation, that's when they become commoditized, and that's when they either have to innovate in what they're doing, customize to get out of that commodity trap, or go to that next level. And so you'll increasingly see that happen all the way along in the next level beyond experiences and transformations. And then on the demand side, as consumers are increasingly looking for help in the aspirations they have. All of the economies are a matter of, we used to do things ourselves, now we pay other people for it, right? The history of economic progress is paying a fee for what once was free that we did ourselves. So we used to be responsible for growing our own crops and killing chickens for dinner, right? We used to be responsible for making our own tools of the trade and goods. We used to be responsible for changing the oil in our car and cleaning our clothes and making all our food. And now we often pay other people for all that. And we used to be responsible for the experiences and the transformations that we underwent. And maybe we'd buy a self-help book, right? A physical good to help us. But now we're saying, it's hard to do that from a book. Life is hard. I don't have as much time as I think I used to. So let me get that from somebody. So, like you look at fitness centers is a, sort of a classic transformation sector, because people go there to become more fit, right? They have those aspirations. But it used to be that work made us fit, right? In the agrarian and industrial economies, work made us fit. We didn't need fitness centers. No. So it's only now that we need to pay people to become fit, because we don't get there naturally. Yeah. And there's a lot of that with transformations, that the simple fact of, you look at the specialization of labor, is that there's a lot of things they can do better than I can. Let them do them for me. Let them help me and guide me. So, and I'll mention one other thing in that regard, Short, is the shift out of the pandemic, right? Has also, obviously, once we've done, people want to experience everything. We're out there with all these wonderful experiences again, and we will not be locked down again. But you see a shift, not a wholesale change, but a shift from the merely memorable to highly meaningful experiences. Because, it's the meaningful experiences that we really miss most of all, because those shared experiences that we have with our loved ones, with our friends, our colleagues, even complete strangers, where we want to have those shared experiences, we want them to be meaningful. And that's at least a half step to transformations, where we want that meaning that we're getting there to yield some change in our lives. So you're going to see increasing demand for it as a result.
Yeah, but what I also noticed, and that's something that maybe bumps into this theory, is that you also have those groups of people that are so strong in their own opinion. They find like followers online, and they even make their frame smaller and smaller. Is then still an experience or an experience strategy coming out of a brand or governmental, is that still strong enough to open up those strong, totally, this is my opinion, so whatever you say or whatever you make me believe or make me experience isn't good enough to make that change?
It really depends. Right? It depends on the individual, depends on the brand, depends on what you're trying to go after. But I think yes, that's possible. But there are cases where you can really affect that change and give consumers what they want.
Mm-hmm. In terms of that, what they want, is there like the best case at this moment? Is there one brand or one company that you say, wow, have a look at what they're doing, that's spot on?
That's an interesting question. I mean, like, if you ask that about experiences or customization, or often these are the companies.
Yeah.
Transformations, there's a lot of smaller examples, like individual healthcare hospitals and that sort of thing. One of we had that article in the January-February issue of the Harvard Business Review called "The New You Business."
Yes.
And we highlighted Profile, which is a smallish weight loss company. We highlighted some other sort of companies. So it's interesting, is I hadn't really thought about this till you said that. There is no Disney of the transformation economy, right? There is that I can think of, that one that really does it well. I mean, you might, if you look at B2B transformations, you might look at the consulting companies, that there's many that do it well. And you can point to, McKinsey and BCG and Bain and all of those. But in terms of personal transformation, there isn't one that's really put together a lot of different things. So that's interesting. I think one in the U.S., the Walgreens and CVS that are they're drugstores, right?
Yeah.
But they bought insurance companies, they bought healthcare providers, and I would say they're the ones that have the chance of moving in that direction. So I think one of the primary ones is around health and around well-being. Yeah. And that's where I would look for the Disney of the transformation economy to come from.
But maybe one of the conclusions could be that the experience economy and the theory and the vision behind that has room for like a Disney, and maybe this evolution of the experience of the flowing to the transformation economy maybe at the end of the day has smaller examples, because the power of this transformation economy is within that real personal change. So maybe there will not be a Disney of the transformation economy.
That's interesting, because you would also say that the biggest company, so outside of technology, you could see how they could focus on transformation. They don't really today. There are elements of it. So maybe one or two of the technology companies could do that. But if you put aside technology for a moment, you'd say even today, right, the biggest companies are commodity producers.
Yeah.
Right. Exxon, Shell, right, in the Netherlands, right? They get oil out of the ground and they refine it and they turn it into goods, right? And then still got the automobile companies, the major manufacturers that are still, 50, 100 billion or more in income. Then you've got still large service providers that are out there, Walmart and Amazon and retailers, for example, Ahold in the Netherlands, that are among the biggest companies. But even in experiences, there are only a few, right? The Disney, you might say Netflix is approaching that level. At least in terms of 100 million people that are buying from it every day, as a subscription. So interestingly, there is sort of that reverse size, to the value of the economy, right? That in general, again, and tech sort of again are sort of a different class altogether. So that will be interesting to see if that eventually starts to come the other way, where the experience companies and the transformation companies get bigger and bigger, and the others won't go down. Just relatively, there's still Shell will produce be $100 billion company probably forever unless they really screw things up. But relatively, others will come and surpass them, would be my guess.
And then the last one, I think the governmental institutions and prime ministers, and they didn't read your books, I think.
No, not nearly enough. No.
I was so surprised by the way, even during such a crisis, how they communicate. It's in my opinion very poor. It's poor communication strategy.
Yes. And the other generic thing that governments tend to do, because they have, there are vested interests and lobbyists in that, is they tend to protect the old ways of doing things, which inhibits the ability to move beyond, which will create jobs for more people, be more productive, higher well-being and all of that, economic well-being as well as social and health well-being. But it's just hard for them to get them out of that mindset.
But come on, you're coming over to Europe, so we will change the world at the end of September, October, and there's more information about that underneath this video. Thank you very much, Joe Pine.
Thank you, Short. It's a rare interview where I get to think about things I hadn't ever thought of before, so I thank you for that.
Cool. I will give you a call later on when my football club starts again, then you can think about things.
All right, super.
All the best. Thank you very much, Joe, and say hi to your grandchildren.
All right, will do. Thank you.
Cheers. Hope to see you soon.
Yep. Bye.
Bye-bye. Stop recording.